Dear Amy, this is episode number 2, and for today's episode, it's going to be a Q&A special. Today's theme is Ask a Guy. We asked you on social media to drop questions you would ask a guy if you could remain anonymous. So I brought with me a guy. Hi, Oleg.
Hi.
Hi,
everyone.
Guy. How are you doing today?
I'm a little bit nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Well, I have no idea about the questions I'm going to be asking. That's not something I usually do.
Okay, are you ready? Take a
As
deep
much-
breath. Let's just take a deep breath. Relax our shoulders. You ready?
I am.
Yes?
I guess. Let's go
Okay.
for it.
Number 1, very, very difficult question. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Oleg, a co-founder of Les Amis, together with Anna, who started our little project, our startup 4 years ago in Barcelona. And I'm taking care of all product, engineering, marketing work. Before that, I was in tech, built my career at Google, did different things, worked with Google Cloud and AI. And at some stage, I decided to quit and was looking for the next big thing to do. And when Anna came up with Les Amis as a project, I felt it's a really nice mission to connect people and to bring more friendships, more community in the world. I think especially now with all the AI trend and slop and singularity going on, IRL and real life is probably one of the most important topics.
How was your experience building a woman-focused company?
Oh, you're not the first one to ask it. Well, it's fun, for sure. I think in my past years, I've learned more about women than I've ever had in my entire life.
Like what? What is something that you've learned about women that you had no idea about?
They're very complex creatures.
Like onions.
Not really, but as complex.
How does it feel to be building a company with your partner, fiance, wife?
It's very interesting, you know. Again, I'm being always asked about this by my friends. Of course, at first it's funny, it's interesting, it's unusual. But also you understand that when you invest so much time in the company, and that's what I've seen with my founder friends, keeping your relationship going is really hard because you marry your work. I think when you can do something together with your fiancé, with your wife, it just changes the dynamic because suddenly you don't need to explain why you're spending all your nights and days at work building something. That other person understands it and they become supportive and they become a partner with you on this. For me, it's also almost as important as having a kid together or building a house together because you're going through so many things that you truly understand who the person is. And even if it all doesn't work out, you can look back and say, hey, that was a cool thing we did. But there are a lot of questions and hardships to this too, I'm not going to lie.
Do you have to set any boundaries or any rules around work and personal life so that the lines don't get blurred?
Oh yeah, so many. At first you don't do it because it's all exciting and it takes all your time and you readily invest in it. But at stage you realize that you need to have this separation because your life becomes your work, work becomes your life, and you live at work and you marry your co-founder. And when it comes to this, it gets really hard to disconnect because your brain is always with work and processing it. And so for us, it was important to not to talk about work after 8 p.m. during lunch or dinner. Also on the weekend, at least on Saturday, that we don't do it. Also the way we kind of consider each other at work is a co-founder relationship. So I could be a lot more strict or straightforward than I would be with her as a boyfriend or as a husband. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Kind of weird. Speaking of weird, are you ready for the questions? I have questions ready for you.
I am ready as much as I can be.
Okay, let's go with number 1. If a woman is direct, so has needs, boundaries, feelings, is that attractive, too much, or just rare?
It depends. It's mostly attractive because I like women that know what they want And I think setting the right desires and boundaries and expectations is also going into the same section, right? Of the ambitious, of the self-confident woman. But I think it should all come with logic, so to say. So if it's some expectations that have no ground to it, which is more of the assess in the moment rather than what you like really stand for, that can become really not attractive, right? That can really stir you away. So in general, I think it's important for everybody to have the boundaries and to state them and to be direct and straightforward. But also, I think there's a lot of real grounding to it, and also maybe a bit of playfulness. When we're too serious and too straightforward, it kind of loses the game.
Yeah, I was thinking about relationships and how I feel we've turned them into this super magical, mystical thing. And I always like to say, when someone comes to me with a question around like setting a boundary, or I say, what would you do at work? And they say, oh no, I would say that, or I would do that. And I'm like, well, why are you not doing it? And I feel like in relationships, we take for granted that people are going to understand or know what we want. Whereas actually, it's really the same way as if you started a new job, you would probably set boundaries and kind of explain like what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, where you need a bit of help. Like I feel like we should be doing that more in relationships. I think it would lead to a lot less conflict. And I have two rules in relationships always. The first one is don't assume. And the second one is, of course, ask questions. Because I feel like so much happens when we just assume that the other person is going to do something or want something or need something. Whereas everyone has different needs in relationships. Everyone has different, like not just for being a man or a woman or whatever, like, are you going to need or want certain things? So yeah, my question is always, when someone asks me this, is always like, well, what would you do in another scenario, which maybe isn't so complex or isn't so, tainted by Disney?
I think as we talk about this, setting the expectations and boundaries, like you said, it's just reducing the conflicts and speaking up about things is very important. And one of the big learnings and experiences that we've gone through is also how much you can actually talk about things openly and having a conversation around this. Because I think a lot of couples exist there without truly understanding what the other wants. Not even because they don't set it as a boundary, but they just never spoken about it. And speaking up turns out to be the most effective way of upkeeping this relationship, as simple as it sounds.
I think it's interesting, and it's also hard, right? When like women, I guess, like from so many thousands of years ago, it's like kind of we were taught that speaking up was bad, or like we shouldn't speak up, we should be agreeable or not too opinionated, or like we should be a good girl. And I think so that's maybe where it's detrimental for women. And I think for men it's like, don't speak about emotions. Like that's been the messaging for so long. So I think it's an interesting point in time right now where women are becoming more and more comfortable with taking up more space and actually asking for themselves first what they need, because I think that's also a question that needs to happen. And I think for men maybe the challenge is a little bit more now in terms of like their emotional field and understanding those and actually being able to speak about them. Okay, question number 2. What does space mean when a man asks for it? Is it recharging, avoidance, punishment, or something else?
Oh, wow. You guys are going hard on me. Well, I think that when you talk about space as a man, it's just about how much of this relationshipness you process at time. So to say, you're single and ready to mingle, and you go around and you have one bachelor type of life, and then suddenly your life starts to change very quickly.
What, because you met someone?
Well, because you met someone.
Okay.
And you might feel like you're losing this freedom, in a sense. And maybe it's for good. Maybe with this freedom, with this loss of freedom, the perceived one that you have, you get a lot more new things. But in order for you to appreciate and understand that you're getting them, you need some time and space to actually process these feelings that men never talk about, like you said, process this new state of your life, state of things, and just accept fully that now it's not just me, it's us, right? And this loss of identity is probably what really the space means.
I was starting to think about this. I've asked for space as well. Like, I don't think it's so much a gender thing at times. I also think it can be so many different reasons. I've definitely used space as punishment, like for sure. But I think I've used that more in relationship where I've been like, I need some space. And it's definitely been like, I need you to go and think about what you've done. Have you ever used space as a punishment?
Maybe.
Maybe. And then I've used space as avoidance, probably as well, actually. Like, I think sometimes if I'm like being challenged, I was reading a really great quote about how we break in community, we heal in community. I speak to certain women often who talk about healing, and they'll say, oh yeah, I need to be fully healed before I can meet someone. And I really like to challenge that belief of like having to be fully healed, because I do feel like a relationship that is nourishing is going to challenge you to grow in different ways. And I feel like I've used the space thing whenever, like, I've probably met someone who's challenged me to grow in a certain way and been like, oh no, I can't think about this right now, I need some space. And then gone and sat myself and with it.
Totally. And I think it really depends on what it means up to the context, because sometimes it's just that the relationship is not going where you want it to go, and you want the space to maybe give the time and heal the path of it. And maybe sometimes it's that you don't really understand if it's the right person or no. So are you ready to take it serious, or is it still like this exploratory space, if you may? And at times when I've seen my friends' couples take this space in between relationship, I would think that, hey, actually they're gonna break up. And what I've seen, surprisingly for me, no, they actually got back and they got stronger. So I was a lot more judgmental about this, but then with time I learned that just different people process it differently, and it could mean so many things, like in this question.
Yeah.
So again, you probably just need to ask.
And also, I think we don't have enough space, like, as a whole these days, right? I think about how before, when, for example, rent was more affordable and people didn't have to move in so quickly, right? There was more time allowed, or we didn't have our phones on us constantly, so we couldn't be messaging each other constantly, and like there was that space was allowed because you wouldn't speak to someone until you got home that day. I feel like, and obviously like that the mind space has been completely taken up by technology, by everything, right? All of the outside noise, even in relationship. I do believe that we have kind of normalized relationships where there's constant communication and we're constantly, and I think that actually this need for space can also sometimes come for just a need of just like emptying some parking spaces in our brain to just actually just sit with ourselves and be.
Totally. And for creative process, it's very important too. If we speak even about this physical space or mind space, right? It might not be necessarily related to relationships specifically, but just to the way you are, because I need a lot of free time, personal time, in order to get to new creative ideas and to actually produce something. And it took me a while also being in the relationship to learn this, because before you just don't realize it comes naturally. But when you are spending a lot more of your time together, and suddenly you realize that you need literally physical and time space to create and to come up with some new brilliant ideas. And probably for you as an artist, it's very
100%. And I think it gets harder and harder as like life gets busier and busier and the world gets louder and louder. So yeah, I'm a fan of space. I'm for space. Are you for pro space or
pro space?
Pro space. Okay, question number 3. What is the difference between the woman you date versus the woman you'd marry?
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, sticky. I have so much to say on this, by the way.
Oh, no. Can we skip to the next question? Okay, no.
No, but I think, okay, can I say something on this? Because
Sure.
I think it's important. Because I would also say this applies to men and women, but there is also like context for this phrase. I think it's like the Madonna whore complex. And this happens a lot, seriously though, in Catholic society. It's happened a lot because it's almost like the woman who, and I'm going to be very blunt, the woman you want to fuck is not the woman you necessarily want to marry, because of the idealization of the mother as being this like innocent, giving woman.
Right.
And it is a thing. It's something that I've spoken to about about so many times because and it's in our subconscious. It's like not in everyone's subconscious, but it's still there, especially if, like for example, in countries like Spain, where it's still quite a Catholic country. I think it's really interesting because I think that obviously, like, this puts women in a position where it's like, oh, you have to be one thing or the other. Whereas you and I have talked about this just now, where it's such a, women are so complex. Women are capable of being the Madonna and the whore. We're capable of being all of the things. It's just what part is being picked up or what part is the one we're putting out there. I think this has led to a lot of insatisfaction in relationships because obviously, at least in my opinion, the person that I want to marry is also the person I want to have sex with every day.
Hopefully.
For me, it should be both of those things, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's my belief on this, is challenging that.
No, I'm totally with you on, there's no juxtaposition in this. If you don't want to marry a woman that you want to fuck, then why even doing that?
Yeah.
And I've seen some of my friends having been led by this belief of finding the mother for their kids.
Yeah.
And then ended up divorcing after having a few kids together. And that's really sad and worrisome because that's exactly the skewed belief that it should be two different women, two different persons. In my personal quest, I've been always looking for a partner more than anything. And partner means just a person that you can spend all the time together and do all the type of things that you want to do. And still that will be the person that will be a mother of your kids and that you want to retire together and maybe build a company.
And someone you can evolve with as well, right? In harmony. I always believe that that's the biggest challenge in relationships, is not like whether the love can stay or not, but actually can we evolve together? Like,
and grow up together.
Yeah, can we grow up together? And I think that, because obviously, you know, with growth, when you feel stuck, I think that's when maybe the challenges arise.
Totally.
Interesting question. What do they mean, guys, when they say they want feminine energy? What behavior does that map to in reality?
Madonna. I guess that maps to this mother behavior, the Madonna behavior. You know, this innocent, but also like very feminine. Oh my God, I'm just
we
this.
should probably talk about like masculine, the origin of masculine and feminine energy, because I think there is so many, there's so much content out there that I believe is not very correct in terms of describing masculine or feminine energy. Like, the masculine and feminine energy comes from the Taoist, like Chinese Taoism, that talks about, you know, the yin and the yang symbol, how you need masculine energy and feminine energy working together, but there's masculine energy within the feminine and there is feminine energy within the masculine.
Oh God, I've never thought about this.
Oh, okay, you're in for a good one, because I love talking about this.
Okay.
So masculine energy, more than anything, it refers to, everyone has masculine and feminine energy. So you have masculine and feminine energy, I have masculine and feminine energy, and it comes in different amounts, right? Everything has masculine and feminine energy, right? There might be like a leading energy, but everything has to have a combination of both in order for it to achieve harmony. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Follow me? Okay. So masculine energy, if we think of masculine energy as an element, it would be sort of like sky, right? The difference between masculine and feminine energy would be more like grounding, feeling. So masculine energy is doing, feminine energy is feeling. And we as humans need to do both of those things, right? In order to operate as fully functioning human beings. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yep. Another thing that could be considered like masculine energy would be like high intensity exercise, right? Think about it as like constantly like air, like constantly like sky, thunder, right? Feminine energy is more like feeling, grounding, Mother Nature. Does that make sense? Okay. This is where we're coming from.
Okay. Well, I guess I get it.
But can I explain how social media is describing it now?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so feminine energy, there's a lot of content right now saying feminine energy is more like about being soft and about like being like, soft and basically not doing much. I think that's where the content is coming from mostly. And this is where maybe I have an issue with it, because we need both of those things to operate. It's not about just constantly just having to be soft and not having to do anything. And I do this because that's what I always see in the content. It's just people doing like this in pretty dresses and like long billowing hair. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I guess I see what you mean, and I get where you're coming from. But to me, having the feminine energies, especially me being on the Ambitious Women podcast, that's probably a real good place to talk about this, because I think feminine energy or female is also the one that allows you to be taken care of, that can be weak and can be vulnerable, that you as a man can care for, and that makes you feel masculine, that makes you feel strong, that makes you feel in your element, to your point, as you say. And
Can I ask you, when you mean taken care of, you mean emotion, like you don't just mean like financially, right? There's like taking care of in like multiple fields.
And it could be anything from allowing you to open the door in front of her, to open a bottle of champagne, to pay in the restaurant after a meal, to invite her to a trip, to just let her be herself and open up and not trying to be strong or independent.
Like emotional safety.
Yeah, exactly. So the one that opens up and lets you be a protector in a sense. And I think that's one thing that I see has been changing a lot in the past years, with society evolving and evolution of the gender roles, with performative men becoming the new thing. So feminine becomes masculine, masculine feminine, and there's a lot of kind of disturbance or stirring right now happening. And going back to your question, having this feminine energy is just being weak in a moment and allowing yourself to have another person take care of you.
Yeah, I associate being in my feminine to letting my guard down. Like I feel like that to me. And for me, someone in their masculine energy, I guess, would be someone who can provide structure. So it's not necessarily someone who pays for everything. It's not necessarily someone who not so much protects me physically, because I think also like the masculine and the feminine in societies where women could be raped, like just obviously like just, you know, medieval times where it happened a lot more frequently. Like you had to be careful every single minute of every single day. I think that was definitely something. I think now as society becomes safer, and I say safer because obviously rape is still sadly something that happens, I do feel like it's maybe more of an emotional protection, like creating structure emotionally as well, like providing a safe space to be able to talk about emotions.
Totally.
Where that feels safe. And yeah, structure. Also structure if I'm always late everywhere. And my partner's always like, okay, we're leaving at like 12. That gives me like time structure, I feel, as well. Like it's something that I need.
Well, then in this case, I have a lot more feminine energy because I'm always late.
Okay, next question. What do you feel men need emotionally that they're embarrassed to ask for?
Again, as everything, it depends. But for me personally, and what I see, my friends, is actually the other way around. Sometimes the society puts so much pressure on you performing as a man that allowing a space for men to be vulnerable is actually something that you wish for very deeply in your heart, but you would never say out loud, because that immediately changes the structure, who you are, how you behave. Are you taken care of? Are you the provider or the one that is taken care of? How's your energy? Are you not strong? And so on and so forth. And I almost feel that now, again, with gender roles changing, men becoming more feminine, female becoming more masculine, that is becoming more natural for men to be weak, or to at least open up with their emotions. But we are not really good about talking them. And about what we feel and how we are. And I don't think we yet have the structures to bring up these conversations as often.
I feel like something changes when I work with groups of men. When you insert like some women into the equation, I think that it does open up the door a lot more to that vulnerability that you're speaking of. Do you feel like that's the case?
I don't know.
Like if you're around like girlfriends, do you feel like there's more space to talk about this kind of stuff, or do you still feel like the guard is up?
I don't know. Yeah, I think the guard is up most of the time. If you're surrounded by your lads, you definitely not talk about this thing. So there's no really safe space to talk about your emotions. You have to just process them by yourself.
That's how you feel, like in terms of...
I think, yeah, I think that's how most of men feel.
Yeah. We need to change this fast. Okay, next question. And it's actually to this point. Do you think men feel lonely inside relationships?
And I think the answer is very similar, and the answer is yes. I mean, I'm opening up here for you guys, so hope you appreciate it. But I think so, yeah. And I mean, I don't want to go like very deep into the scopes. Obviously, for Les Amis, we do a lot of research around how people are and the society and the behaviors and psychology and stuff. But 2/3 of suicides are committed by men.
Under 40 as well.
Right.
So I think death by suicide is the leading cause of death for men under 40.
Something like this. So it's just like one sheer number that not everybody knows, but you can look it up. It's easy. And I think it all goes down to just the lack of somebody to talk, both in man relationship and in the house relationship, because again, the social role implies you to be strong, not have any problems, just be the best version of yourself, and you can't always be. And I think going back to what kind of relationship you're looking for, is it like for the marriage, or is it a person that you can just fuck and have fun with? It all comes down to another question that probably more men need to ask themselves. Can you be vulnerable with this person? And can you open up? And can you share when things are going south? Or is it that type of relationship where you always need to be that strong guy? Because in the end of the day, you could never be.
And I have a question to add to that as well, which is, are you strong because you think you have to be strong? Like when you said about the other person being a safe space, is this person giving you the space, or is your conditioning or your belief that you can't share in this space? Because I also think there's a difference between that, what we think, versus what the reality actually is.
Totally. But I guess you wouldn't be probing, so maybe it's more about the invitation from the other side that needs to come, and not that you suddenly open up and the other person is not emotionally available for that.
How would you like to be invited? This is my question for you.
Oh, I don't know. I've never thought about this.
No, because I think about this a lot, right? Like maybe necessarily it's not the same. Obviously, everyone's different, right? We're all our own human experiences. But I wonder, like, what would an invitation look like for you to open up?
I don't know. Just say it, or kind of what's on your mind. Honestly, it's a hard question, but yeah, I think just a person explicitly saying this, that I see that something is bothering you, and I'm here to talk to, and you can be open. Like, you don't need to cover up, or you don't need to try to pretend that everything is great. You can talk to me about this. And as simple again as it sounds, like it's all about the conversation and just creating the space that allows for this. I could start as simply as that. But again, I think, to point that we mentioned previously, you just need to be emotionally ready to hear what the other person has to tell you.
Okay, next question. This is about money.
Okay.
If she earns more, what do you think changes psychologically for men? Status, effort, control, pride?
You girls. I believe it's an important question for you, because again, with roles changing, there's more and more women that earn more than men, right? And it's becoming almost normal in society.
I think in America, for every man who goes to college, I think there's 2 women now.
All right. Okay. Well, that's not surprising, and it's not surprising that women will start earning a lot more than men, because there's just so much more education, so many more opportunities happening now, and hopefully it will just continue this way. I think, well, it changes a lot, but it's also about the preconditioning that you always had, because if in your family your father was always a provider, and your mom was just managing the household and keeping everybody well fed and well dressed and clean, then suddenly if you see it different in your relationship, that almost could feel you start questioning your own identity or your own choices, because it's not something that you have been accustomed to when you grew up.
And it's not been that custom in society, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's still quite a new thing. I think it was, like 50 years ago, women still needed men's like signature for credit cards.
Right.
Like, when we're talking about not so long ago.
Voting rights, driving, a lot of these things are actually new, things that we take for granted now in society. And I think that, of course, society implies a lot more of the structures around how it should be in the household, how it should be in the family. And me personally, I also think that I've gone a long way in my emotional and mental upbringing to finally accept that women can actually earn more than you, or you can earn together, and it's fine. But to me, I still believe that there are things that you should pay for as a man, and it's not a lot about your financial status more than how, again, this feminine and masculine energy plays out. And to that point, paying for a dinner in the restaurant, or buying flowers, or inviting for a trip, these are all things that you should and still can do as a man. The rest of the household, well, it probably can depend on how you agree and how you see things, but let's say probably it makes sense to split according to how much you earn. So if you're open about this, and if you're earning 6 times more than your partner, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to split it evenly. Probably it makes sense to split according to how much you're earning.
Yeah. And I think that there's, at least for me, there's so much more to relationship than what is financially made. Like, ultimately, whoever earns more, it is what it is. I think, personally, I'm proud as a woman that we are in this position. At the same time, I think it's such a shame that it's causing problems. And I also, like, when someone comes to me with a problem like this, or talks to me about feeling like this, if a man comes, I always ask, like, what else are you bringing to the table? Because there's so much more to bring to the table. There's so much more to bring to the table. And I think because men for such a long time have spent so long working and identified so much with what their career has been, I think sometimes, especially when feeling insecure, it can be quite hard to look out the box and think, what else can I bring to this table? Because there is so much to bring to the table. And I know for certain, at least in my, friendships and the women I know, it's not an expectation that your partner makes more money than you, or even the same amount of money as you. Is what else, like, how else can you make yourself valuable to the equation, to the team? And I think as soon as we start branching out of that and looking outside of that, there are so many other qualities that a man can bring to the table that add so much value and richness that aren't in the form of financial.
Well, totally. What you say makes a lot of sense, but I believe we're still far away.
We're still far away. So, yeah. Okay, Oleg, since we have you here, I'm going to do a quick fire round. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Grit or intuition, which guides you more?
Grit.
A book that changed you?
From 0 to 1.
Comfort meal?
Pasta?
What pasta?
Carbonara.
Best advice you've ever gotten?
Never stop.
One word your friends would use to describe you?
Curious.
Oleg, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Lala.
We look forward to answering more of your questions on the podcast. Bye, guys.